let's discuss the human element. FISA. Okay, so what's going on right now in Congress with FISA? Here's what you need to know. Here's the 30,000-foot view of what you need to know. What they're debating right now is, does the government need a warrant to accidentally get your data? And this is what I mean. Well, technically, the government needs a warrant to spy on you, to look at your text messages, your emails. If you're at, let's say, the FBI, you can't just say, wow, Susie looks pretty suspicious. Hey, let's read her text messages. You're not allowed to do that, technically. FISA has been a way they've been doing that for a long time, and here's how it works. This gives them the authority to spy on foreign nationals, foreign terrorists, or potential terrorists. You see, you don't need a warrant if you're in the FBI to read some dude's emails from Iran. So what happens if you swap an email with this guy, a text message with this guy? Remember, it doesn't have to be someone you know is a terrorist. You could be dealing with buying some special wallpaper from Paris, or who knows. And the FBI happens to be monitoring this guy, reading his text messages, and they get yours. Well, hey, look at this. Look what Susie said. Hey, we better open up a file on Susie. Backdoor spying on Americans. It is a violation of your civil rights. You, and I know this country has no concept of this anymore. I very much saw that during COVID, that the American people don't understand this. But you understand, I know this sounds basic, so just stay with me. You understand that you're supposed to be free, right? Free. You were blessed by God to be born in America, the land of the free, the land where there are strict limits on what the government, including law enforcement, can and cannot do to you. You are a free citizen. You do not live in a dictatorship. They should never be able to look at your stuff without permission, ever. And so let's talk about the GOP. Because listen, I'm trying not to be a cynic. I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but let me just give it to you. I know we've had some successes with the FISA stuff over the past few days. Just before the weekend, they got installed. All this is great news. Now there's another vote. All this stuff's going to go through again. I'll give you the good news first. The good news is it was more difficult for them to pass this time than it ever has been in the past. Once it's all done and passed, I mean, have been more difficult this time than it ever was in the past. That's a good thing. That means we're moving in the right direction, and we're dragging these useless losers in the GOP in the right direction. Now, why do we fail? Well, there's something we forget. On top of regular GOP weakness and whatnot, we do forget about something I call a lot the human element. You see, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, has infamously been against this kind of warrantless spying on Americans for really all of his career. Well, now he's Speaker of the House, and he's out there whipping up votes to pass the thing. And here was Mike Johnson when he's asked, hey, why the change of heart?
When I was a member of the judiciary, I saw all the abuses of the FBI, the terrible abuses over and over and over, the hundreds of thousands of abuses. And then when I became Speaker, I went to the SCIF and got the confidential briefing from sort of the other perspective on that to understand the necessity of Section 702 of FISA and how important it is for national security. And it gave me a different perspective. So I encouraged all the members to go to the classified briefing and hear all that and see it so they can evaluate the situation for themselves. And I think some opinions have changed both ways, but that's part of the process. You got to be fully informed.
Have you been Excuse me.
Yeah. My entire career, I was against this whole FISA thing. Man, that's dangerous, illegal, spying. But now that I became Speaker, I went to a classified briefing. Whew, if you knew the things I know, you'd want that FISA to go through. That's what he said. Okay, so what are we dealing with here? Well, I don't know for sure, and you don't know for sure, but I do know a couple things. One, let's just get the obvious maybe out of the way first. Maybe Mike Johnson is compromised in some way. We don't know. This happens very regularly to politicians in America, around the world, and all throughout history, so don't act like this is some crazy conspiracy theory. intelligence agencies, law enforcement agencies, especially ones like ours that hoover up a lot of our data, a lot of our information, they end up finding out that everyone is a criminal or has things that they're not proud of in their background. And that is how they have infamously throughout history controlled many, many, many politicians. Is that what happened here? No, I don't have any idea about that. I have no inside knowledge. I don't know. Could have. Did Mike Johnson walk in there and some FBI guys say, hey, Mike, you know how you were against FISA? Hey, we need you to vote yes on this. Otherwise, Mike, I mean, we've got these pictures here. Remember that time you were out of town? We got these pictures. I'd hate for these pictures to get to the LA Times. So Mike, vote our way. Did that happen? I have no idea. But it happens. It definitely does. Could have happened here. I don't know. But the more likely thing that happened is the human element portion of this. This is, in case you're wondering why these GOP types end up selling us out to the deep state over and over and over again. Why does this happen so consistently? Well, here's how they get you. Remember, Mike Johnson, GOP leadership, all of them. As much as we despise them and get frustrated with them, they are flesh and blood, human beings, just like you, just like me. They are. And to us, they can turn into TV characters, right? It's just someone you see on your TV, but they're flesh and blood people. Mike Johnson's a dude. How do these deep state types get their stuff through? Well, they ham up these meetings and these briefings. They know exactly what they're doing. They have all these binders there. Wow, FBI. They'll bring in, I guarantee you, I would bet my mortgage on this, that they brought in a specialist who deals with terrorism, counterterrorism, something cool like that. Some title, hey, Mike Johnson, this is me, Officer Jerkwater, Counterterrorism Division. Let me tell you about ISIS and what they're potentially doing in your town next week. And they get you in this classified briefing and you feel super important and the walls are soundproof and there's armed guards at the door and they tell you, there's a terrorist attack coming. Look, everybody isn't privy to this, only you are. But I want you to open up your super secret binder, turn to page 12, paragraph E. This was presented by Super Ninja Delta Force Special Agent Mike Counterterrorism Johnson. And then he says, whoa, man, I had no idea. Wow, we're going to be attacked next week? Geez, you guys need FISA. This is how they get our guys many, 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 many times. Sometimes they are compromised. Sometimes they are. Sometimes it's just a matter of these police agencies and intelligence agencies, FBI, CIA types, they understand how to make themselves look critically important. After all, these agencies, their entire livelihood depends on members of Congress stroking them huge taxpayer-funded checks so they can do what they do. What they want from you is a check with no accountability. That's what they want from you. How do they get the check? And how do they get the lack of accountability? You go sit Mike Johnson down in a secret classified briefing and tell him how important he is and how dire the situation is.